Hotsu Bodaishin, Establishment of the Bodhi Mind, by Eihei Dogen, from Shobogenzo, the treasury of the true Dharma I. In general, there are three kinds of mind. The first, chitta, is here called thinking mind. The second, hridaya, is here called the mind of grass and trees. The third, vriddha, is here called experienced and concentrated mind. Among these, the Bodhi mind is inevitably established, relying upon thinking mind. Bodhi is the sound of an Indian word. Here it is called the truth. Chitta is the sound of an Indian word. Here it is called thinking mind. Without this thinking mind, it is impossible to establish the Bodhi mind. That is not to say that this thinking mind is the Bodhi mind itself, but we establish the Bodhi mind with this thinking mind. To establish the Bodhi mind means to vow that, and to endeavour so that, before I myself cross over, I will take across all living beings. Even if their form is humble, those who establish this mind are already the guiding teachers of all living beings. This mind is not innate, and it does not now suddenly arise. It is neither one nor many. It is not natural, and it is not formed. It does not abide in our body, and our body does not abide in the mind. This mind does not pervade the Dharma world. It is neither of the past nor of the future. It is neither present nor absent. It is not of a subjective nature. It is not of an objective nature. It is not of a combined nature, and it is not of a causeless nature. Nevertheless, at a place where there is mystical communication of the truth, establishment of the Bodhi mind occurs. It is not conferred upon us by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and it is beyond our own ability. Establishment of the mind occurs during mystical communication of the truth, and so it is not inherent. This establishment of the Bodhi mind is most often able to occur in a human body on the southern continent of Jambudvipa. Rarely it also occurs in the 8 troubled worlds, but not often. After establishing the Bodhi mind, we do training for 3 asamkaya kalpas, or for 100 great kalpas. In some cases, we practice for countless kalpas and become a Buddha. In other cases, we practice for countless kalpas to make living beings cross over before us, finally not becoming a Buddha ourselves, but only taking across living beings and benefiting living beings. This accords with the attitude of delight in Bodhi. In general, the Bodhi mind ceaselessly operates through the three forms of behavior, so that all living beings may somehow be caused to establish the Bodhi mind and be led to the Buddha's truth. Vainly to confer worldly pleasures is not to benefit living beings. This establishment of the mind and this practice and experience have far transcended the facade of delusion and enlightenment, have risen above the triple world, and have surpassed all things. They are quite beyond Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. Bodhisattva Mahakasyapa praises Shakyamuni Buddha in verse, saying, "Establishing the mind and the ultimate state, the two are without separation. Of these two states of mind, the former mind is harder to realize. It is to deliver others before attaining one's own deliverance. For this reason, I bow to your first establishment of the mind." With the first establishment, already the teacher of gods and men, you rose above Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. Such establishment of the mind surpasses the triple world. Therefore, we are able to call it the Supreme. Establishing the mind means establishing for the first time the will to deliver others before attaining one's own deliverance. This is described as the first establishment of the mind. After establishing this mind, we then meet innumerable Buddhas and serve offerings to them, during which time we meet Buddha and hear Dharma, and further establish the Bodhi mind, covering snow with frost. What has been called the ultimate state is Buddhahood, the state of Bodhi. If we compare the state of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi and the first establishment of the Bodhi mind, they may be like the holocaust at the end of a kalpa and the fire of a firefly. At the same time, if we establish the will to deliver others before we ourselves attain deliverance, the two are without separation. Constantly making this my thought, how can I make living beings able to enter the supreme truth and swiftly realize a Buddha's body? This is the Tathagata's lifetime itself. Buddha's establishment of the mind, training and experience of the effect are all like this. Benefiting living beings means causing living beings to establish the will to deliver others before they attain their own deliverance. We should not expect to become Buddha, by virtue of having established the will to deliver others before we ourselves attain deliverance. Even if virtue, which might make us Buddha, has matured and is about to be consummated, we turn it towards living beings' realization of Buddha and attainment of the truth. This mind is not in the self, is not in others, and it does not appear. But after this establishment of the mind, when we embrace the earth, it turns completely to gold, and when we stir the ocean, it at once becomes sweet dew. Henceforth, to take hold of soil, stones, sand, and pebbles, is just to grasp the Bodhi mind, and to go exploring the spray of water, foam, and flame, is to be carrying the Bodhi mind intimately. So to give away a nation, a city, a wife, a child, the 7 treasures, a man, a woman, or one's head, eyes, marrow, brain, body, flesh, hands, and feet is, in every case, the clamouring of the Bodhi mind and the vigorous activity of the Bodhi mind. Chitta, the thinking mind of the present, is neither close nor distant, and neither of the self or of others. Even so, if we turn this mind to the principle of delivering others before we attain deliverance ourselves, without regressing or straying, that is establishment of the Bodhi mind. When we thus give up for the Bodhi mind the grass, trees, tiles, pebbles, gold, silver, and precious treasures, which all living beings of the present are clutching to themselves as their own possessions, how could that not be the establishment of the Bodhi mind itself? Because mind and real dharmas are both beyond subject, object, combination, and causelessness, if we establish this Bodhi mind for a single kasana, the myriad dharmas will all become promoting conditions. In general, establishment of the mind and attainment of the truth rely upon the instantaneous arising and vanishing of all things. If all things did not arise and vanish instantaneously, bad done in the previous instant could not depart. If bad done in the previous instant had not yet departed, good in the next instant could not be realized in the present. Only the Tathagata clearly knows the length of this instant. The teaching that mind can produce one word of speech at a time, and speech can express one word of writing at a time, is also of the Tathagata alone. it is beyond the ability of other saints. In roughly the time it takes a man to click his fingers, there are 65 kasanas, in each of which the 5 aggregates arise and vanish, but no common man has ever sensed it or known it. Even common men have known the length of a tatkasana in the passing of one day and one night. There are 6,400,099,980 kasanas, in each of which all 5 aggregates arise and vanish, but common men never sense or know it. Because they do not sense or know it, they do not establish the Bodhi mind. Those who do not know the Buddha Dharma and do not believe the Buddha Dharma, believe the principle of instantaneous arising and vanishing. One who clarifies the Tathagata's right Dharma eye treasury and the fine mind of Nirvana inevitably believes this principle of instantaneous arising and vanishing. Meeting now the Tathagata's teaching, we feel as if we clearly understand, but we are merely aware of periods of a tatkasana or longer, and we only believe the principle to be true. Our failure to clarify and failure to know all the dharmas that the world-honored one taught is like our failure to know the length of a kasana. Students must never carelessly become proud. We are not only ignorant of the extremely small, we are also ignorant of the extremely large. And yet, even ordinary beings, when we rely on the power of the Tathagata's truth, see the 3,000-fold world. In sum, as we pass from living existence into middle existence, and from middle existence into the next living existence, all things move in a continuous process, kasana by kasana. Thus, regardless of our own intentions and led by past behavior, the cycle of life and death continues without stopping for a single kasana. With the body-mind that is swept like this through life and death, we should establish at once the Bodhi-mind, which is the will to deliver others before we ourselves attain deliverance. Even if, on the way to establishing the Bodhi-mind, we begrudge the Bodhi-mind, it is born, grows old, becomes sick, and dies. In the end, it is not our own possession. The ceaselessness and swiftness with which the course through life of living beings arises and vanishes. While the world-honored one is in the world, there is a bhikshu who visits the Buddha, bows his head at the Buddha's 2 feet, then stands back to one side and addresses the world-honored one, saying, "How fast is the arising and vanishing of the course through life of living beings." The Buddha says, "Even if I could explain it, you could not know it." The Bhikkhu says, "Is there no allegory that can demonstrate it?" The Buddha says, "There is, and I will tell it to you now." For example, 4 skilled archers each take a bow and arrow, stand together back to back, and prepare to shoot in the 4 directions. An agile man comes along and says to them, "You may now shoot your arrows at once, and I will be able to catch each one before it falls to the ground." What does it mean? Is he fast or not? The Bhikkhu says to the Buddha, "Very fast, world-honored one." The Buddha says, "That man is not as fast as earthbound yakshas. Earthbound yakshas are not as fast as skyborn yakshas. Skyborn yakshas are not as fast as the 4 heavenly kings. Those gods are not as fast as the 2 wheels of the sun and the moon. The 2 wheels of the sun and the moon are not as fast as the gods who pull the chariot, whose wheels are the sun and moon." Though the gods described here have become progressively swifter, the arising and vanishing of the course of a life is swifter still. Life flows at every instant without the slightest pause. The swiftness of the arising, vanishing, and instantaneous flowing of the course of our life is like this. Moment by moment, practitioners should not forget this principle. While experiencing the swiftness of this instantaneous arising, vanishing, and flowing, if we arouse one thought of delivering others before we attain deliverance ourselves, the eternal lifetime will manifest itself before us at once. The Buddhas of the 3 times and the 10 directions, together with the 7 world-honored Buddhas, plus the 28 patriarchs of India in the east, the 6 patriarchs of China in the west, and all the other ancestral masters who have transmitted the Buddha's right Dharma eye treasury and fine mind of nirvana. Each has maintained and relied upon the Bodhi mind. Those who have never established the Bodhi mind are not ancestral masters. Pure criteria for Zen monasteries. Question 120 says, "Have you awakened the Bodhi mind or not?" Clearly remember, in the Buddhist patriarchs' learning of the truth To awaken the Bodhi mind is inevitably seen as foremost. This is the eternal rule of the Buddhist patriarchs. To awaken means to be clear in. It does not refer to the great realization of the truth itself. Even those who have suddenly experienced the 10 states are still bodhisattvas. The 28 patriarchs of India, the 6 patriarchs of China, and all the other great ancestral masters are bodhisattvas. They are not Buddhas, and they are not Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, or the like. Among practitioners of this age, there is not one person who clearly knows that these patriarchs are bodhisattvas, not Shravakas. Practitioners of this age just randomly call themselves patch-robed monks and patch-robed disciples without knowing the reality of the matter, and so they have created confusion. It is pitiful that in a decadent age the truth of the patriarchs has degenerated. This being so, whether we are lay people or ones who have left home, whether in the heavens above or in the human world, whether in suffering or in happiness, we should quickly establish the will to deliver others before we attain deliverance ourselves. Although the world of living beings is beyond limit and beyond limitlessness, we establish the mind to deliver, ahead of ourselves, all living beings. This is just the Bodhi mind. When bodhisattvas, one life away from Buddhahood, are about to descend to Jambudvipa, they say in their ultimate teaching for the gods in Tushita heaven, the Bodhi mind is a gate of Dharma illumination, for it prevents negation of the 3 treasures. Clearly, negation of the 3 treasures is by virtue of the Bodhi mind. After establishing the Bodhi mind, we should steadfastly guard it, never regressing or going astray. The Buddha says, how do bodhisattvas guard the one matter, namely the Bodhi mind? Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, constantly endeavor to guard this Bodhi mind. As worldly people protect an only child, or as the one-eyed protect their remaining eye. Just as those who, journeying through a vast wilderness, protect their guide, bodhisattvas again guard the Bodhi mind like this. Because they guard the Bodhi mind like this, they attain the truth of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Because they attain the truth of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, they are replete with constancy, happiness, autonomy, and purity, which are supreme and great parinirvana. For this reason, bodhisattvas guard this one Dharma. The Buddha's words on guarding the Bodhi mind are evidently like this. The reason we guard it and never permit backsliding is that, as popular custom has it, there are three things which, though born, do not reach maturity. They are fish eggs, amra fruit, and a bodhisattva who has established the mind. Because, in general, there are so many people who regress and lose the Bodhi mind, I have long feared that I also might regress and lose it. For this reason, I guard the Bodhi mind. Bodhisattvas often regress or stray from the Bodhi mind when they are beginners, because they do not meet a true teacher. Without meeting a true teacher, they do not hear the right Dharma. Without hearing the right Dharma, they are likely to negate cause and effect, to negate salvation, to negate the three treasures, and to negate all the dharmas of the three times. Idly craving the five desires of the present, they lose the virtue for future attainment of Bodhi. Sometimes, in order to hinder a practitioner, celestial demons, papiyas, and the like will take on the shape of a Buddha, or will appear in the shape of a parent, a teacher, or relatives, gods, and so on. Thus drawing near, they concoct fictions and prevail upon the Bodhisattva, saying, "The Buddha's truth is far distant. You would suffer long hardships and experience the deepest sorrow. The better course is to resolve our own life and death first, and then to deliver living beings." The practitioner, hearing these tales, regresses from the body mind and regresses in the conduct of a bodhisattva. Remember, talk such as the above is just the talk of demons. Bodhisattvas must recognize it and must not follow it. Just never regress or stray from your conduct, and vow to deliver others before attaining deliverance yourself. No talk that would turn you against the conduct, and vow to deliver others before attaining deliverance yourself, as the talk of demons. Know it as the talk of non-Buddhists, and know it as the talk of bad companions. Never follow it at all. There are four kinds of demon. The first is demons of hindrance. The second is demons of the five aggregates. The third is demons of death. And the fourth is celestial demons. Demons of hindrance, of what are called the 108 hindrances, and so on, discriminate 84,000 miscellaneous hindrances. Demons of the five aggregates are the primary and cooperating causes which combine to produce hindrances. We have got this body of the four elements, together with matter made from the four elements, and matter sensed through the eyes and other organs. This is called the aggregate of matter. The sum of feelings such as those of the 108 hindrances, is called the aggregate of feeling. Differentiation and synthesis of the countless thoughts, great and small, that we have, is called the aggregate of thought. Through the occurrence of pleasure and displeasure, there can arise habits which accommodate or do not accommodate mental states such as greed, anger, and so on. This is called the aggregate of conduct. Combination of the 6 senses and their 6 objects gives rise to the 6 kinds of consciousness. The countless and limitless states of mind, which are the differentiation and synthesis of these 6 kinds of consciousness, are called the aggregate of consciousness. Demons of death, through the impermanence of direct and cooperating causes, break the momentary succession of the lives of the 5 aggregates, and utterly removes 3 things: consciousness, heat, and life. Therefore we call them demons of death. Celestial demons, as rulers of the world of desire, deeply attached to worldly pleasures and rely upon expectation of gain. Therefore they give rise to wrong views. They hate and envy all sages' and saints' ways and methods of nirvana. We call these celestial demons. Mara is an Indian word. In China, it is called a being which is able to steal life. Only demons of death can actually steal life, but the others also are able to produce the direct and cooperating causes of the taking of life. Moreover, they take away the life of wisdom. For this reason, we call them killers. Someone asks, one category, the demons of the 5 aggregates, covers the other 3 types of demon. Why do you separate them and explain the 4? The answer is as follows. In fact, it is one demon, but for the purpose of analysis, there are the 4. The foregoing is the teaching of the ancestral master, Nagarjuna. Practitioners should know it and should diligently learn it. Never idly be worried by demons into regressing or straying from the Bodhi mind. This is to guard the Bodhi mind. Preached to the assembly at Kippo Temple in the Yoshida district of Eshu on the 14th day of the 2nd lunar month in the 2nd year of Kangen.